General, what was the first thought that crossed your mind when you heard today about Navalny's death?
I thought about his wife. He has a family. And here's a guy that has been in jail and tortured, separated from his family, probably knew that this was coming. But that's the first thing I thought about was him. And then I thought about his family. And then I thought about, what about the people of Russia? I mean, at some point, they've got to say, this is what happens to anybody that protests. And I was reminded that authoritarians are scared of their own people. That's why they lock up protesters, opponents.
And still the timing is suspicious. The news broke today, shortly before the start of the Security Conference here in Munich. Is that Putin sending a message?
Of course, I don't know I haven't seen the autopsy yet, and we don't know all the facts of his death. My assumption was, of course, that this is a result of the poisoning that happened 1 or 2 years ago, the terrible treatment and conditions in which he's been living. So what contributed to his death? I don't think it was like today he was killed. I think today he died from treatment or terrible treatment and poisoning, and today is when it happened. I don't know that the timing was planned that way.
In recent interviews and comments, Vladimir Putin made clear that he is not backing down. And in the moment, it seems as if the Russians do have the upper hand on the battlefield. Is that also your assessment?
No, I don't agree that the Russians have the upper hand. Clearly, at this point, as we begin or come to the end of the second year of the large-scale invasion, neither side can knock out the other. The Russians do not have the ability to finish off Ukraine. Ukraine does not have, at this point, the ability to defeat Russia. This war has been going on, though, 10 years, not 2 years. After 10 years, with every advantage, Russia still only controls 18% of Ukraine. The Black Sea Fleet is losing in the Black Sea. The great Russian Air Force is terrified of flying over Ukraine. Russia has lost 500,000 soldiers killed and wounded and thousands of armored vehicles. I think Russia actually is in a very fragile state. We hear, they have 7% of their GDP is on defense. Great. Their GDP, their economy is the size of Spain. We're not talking about 7% of the German GDP or the Dutch or the Norwegians. So I think that they actually, below the surface, they're in a lot of trouble. Remember, none of us knew in 1988 that the Soviet Union was going to collapse the next year. We had no idea. I think we're in a similar place right now.
Still, we are hearing reports from the front lines that Ukrainian forces are rationing ammunition. At some places they are running out of ammunition. So how concerned are you about the situation there?
Well, I'm very concerned that we're losing Ukrainian soldiers who are dying, in part because the United States and Germany have not provided everything that the Ukrainians need. And this is going to continue, I think, for a few more months before before we solve our political problem. And also, there's a lot of work is being done by European countries, so actually in a few months, we're going to start seeing ammunition supplies increase dramatically, but we started a year too late. So we should not have this problem, Ukraine should not have this problem right now that we're seeing.
Can the Europeans replace what the US is sending to Ukraine?
It's about political will. I mean, think of the combined economies of Germany, Poland, France, UK, Norway, the Netherlands, all the countries of Europe together. Of course they could replace, but it would take the political will to do that. I'm embarrassed that you even have to ask me that question, though. The United States, we're screwing ourselves, if I may say that. I mean, it's in our interest that Russia is defeated it's in our interest that NATO is strong. And the strategic illiteracy of former President Trump and some of his enablers is a danger for the United States, not just for Europe.
Do you think that the US Congress will be able to agree on this huge aid package for Ukraine, or rather not?
Well, I've listened to two senators today, one Republican, one Democrat. They seem very cautiously optimistic that it eventually will get done. Of course, you know the House of Representatives is on their recess right now, so they're gone for the rest of February. And when they come back, they immediately have to prevent the government from shutting down. So it's not going to happen in the next few weeks. But I do think the fact is, despite what Mr. Trump says, the majority of Republicans actually support Ukraine. And so hopefully enough Republicans will rediscover their spine and they will ignore what he says and they'll vote what they know is best. There are millions of American voters that live in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, that their families came from Poland, in Eastern Europe, and they know who Russia is. And I think they will not be happy to know that their congressman or congresswoman voted against Ukraine and for Russia.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the privilege.